The Nebraska Cornhuskers are a team that used to be synonymous with success. But as of recently, that success has dried up, and Scott Frost was brought in from UCF to try and mitigate those losses, and it hasn't gotten much better. And in fact, yesterday, we got on full display that this may be Scott Frost's last season with the Cornhuskers, and we have got to talk about this because the Nebraska versus Illinois game was very telling, especially when Nebraska is slated to take on the Oklahoma Sooners in just a few weeks. A game that Scott Frost reportedly wanted to get out of. So we have got to break this down. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. Hop down into the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe that Scott Frost will be the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers to kick off the season next year? I know that's a long ways to go. It's only game one. I don't want to overreact, but I have a legitimate reason why I don't believe he'll be there, and we'll talk about it throughout the video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy this content, be sure to like and comment down below. But with all of that being said, let's talk about this because Nebraska versus Illinois was very telling really quickly. In fact, at halftime, the score was 9-16 in favor of Illinois, and every single point they had was because of a Nebraska mistake. Whether that was the 7 points on the roughing the passer, the 7 points on the scoop and score, or the safety from the punt that should have never been fielded, Nebraska was all over the place. And really, when we look at that game, it boils down to one thing. And it's the thing that Scott Frost should have them doing well, because the offense for Nebraska looks awful right now. It looks horrendous. And look, to the Huskers' credit, in the early portion of that game yesterday, the offensive line for Illinois was having a really hard time stopping the Nebraska pass rush, especially when it was an obvious passing situation. The Nebraska pass rush was getting exactly what they wanted, and the commentators from the game were talking up the Illinois offensive line, saying how they were such an experienced unit, and Nebraska was really able to generate pressure in the early stages of that game. And when you go back and rewatch it and really ask yourself the why, it's because in that early stages of the game, Nebraska was able to keep Illinois in a position where they wanted. They had them in a situation where it was very obvious that this is a passing down. The second things started unraveling for Nebraska, things unraveled completely for the offense, for the defense, and for the special teams, and it never came back. What was a pass rush that was hitting home became a pass rush that didn't know when they were able to go. Illinois was able to put that Nebraska defense that was successful in the early stages off balance, and they were never able to really get that back. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, I put this on the Nebraska offense, because if your offense isn't able to generate anything at all, your defense has more opportunity to fail. And Scott Frost is a former quarterback for the Huskers. And just speaking of that right there, when you look at him being a Husker alum and a quarterback from the Huskers, and then you look at his time at UCF, you would think that the Huskers offense would have actually been the calling card, and it was the exact opposite. The offense was terrible. And actually in my notes, one of the things I have written down is I have that Nebraska has no identity on offense. And in fact, you have a quarterback who's mobile, who's not having any success passing in the pocket, and actually looks lost while standing in the pocket, and you never did anything to try and help him. I was surprised we never saw them get Martinez attempting to throw from the run with any sort of consistency. They sprinkled it in here, they sprinkled it in there, but they didn't try and get it going consistently. When you're relying on your quarterback to carve up a team from the pocket, but your receivers are getting no separation, you're going to have a really long day. And the Nebraska receivers could not get separation to save their life, which is exactly why I was very surprised when you have a mobile quarterback. Get him outside the pocket. Get him moving around. That'll create more opportunities for your receivers to gain separation because he's extending the play. He's getting the defense to flow with him in a direction. It creates way more opportunity. It keeps the defense off balance. They never did that. And in fact, the one redeeming play and drive that Nebraska had and started to get set up was finally when they started utilizing the mobility of Martinez to a more effective degree. But when you look at it, and that's supposed to be Scott Frost's calling card, it was very painful to watch. Now, luckily, if you are a Cornhuskers fan, you have Oklahoma coming up in a few weeks, but you get 2 tune-up games before that game in both Fordham and Buffalo. You have got to win both of those games, because if you lose either of those games, it is going to be a terrible look. And ultimately, why do I think that Scott Frost is not going to make it next season as Nebraska's head coach? And it's for a few reasons. First and foremost, I can point to the winning percentage, where he is one of the 3 worst coaches in Nebraska Cornhuskers history, having coached at least 3 years as the head coach, with a winning percentage of .375. That is abysmal. And I understand he didn't take over a program that was in its highest stage. He took over a program that needed help. So it is going to take time to get it right. I am completely aware of that, and I am sympathetic of that point. However, the problem occurs that when your identity that you were supposed to really bring in was this excitement and this recruitment, we've seen that come to fruition at first. But ever since, it's actually been an exodus from Nebraska. People are leaving the Cornhuskers that come in there. Nebraska's in a bad spot, and I would be absolutely shocked if Scott Frost made it to next season as the head coach, because the Scott Frost project has been a failure. And in Nebraska's defense, I think we can all understand at the time of hiring, right? Hindsight's 2020. At the time of hiring, the hire made absolute sense. It was a good hire at the time. He has ties to Nebraska. He was a hot name on the coaching market, but now I think it's time to recognize it's not going the way you want. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking about that Nebraska-Illinois game yesterday. It was sloppy all around. Nebraska handed them the game on several occasions, but that offense is a problem for Nebraska. That pass rush they have is legitimately good, right? It's a good pass rush, but the problem is the second the offense can take advantage and keep Nebraska's defense off balance, that pass rush goes away. And that's when we saw Illinois actually start to have some success, when they got Nebraska's defense playing on their heels. So if you're OU and you watch that game, what are your takeaways? First off, on defense, you want to keep Martinez in the pocket. Not only because he's a mobile quarterback, but because he really struggled passing from inside the pocket. I want to keep him right there. And as far as offensively, if I'm OU, I just want to keep Nebraska's defense off balance, because I don't want to test that pass rush. We'll see if that pass rush is the real deal, or if Illinois' offensive line just had a rough outing. But in the early portions of that game, it did look like Nebraska had at least a ferocious pass rush. I will grant them that. That went away, though. But if you're OU, just keep them off balance. I don't expect this to be a game that OU should lose. However, this is the last thing I will say before I close it, and I really want to hear from y'all. OU cannot underestimate this team, because Scott Frost and them will be going in there with nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. And look, I don't think that there's any way OU loses this game. I'm just saying one coach has got a lot more to prove than the other right now, because Lincoln Riley has job security. I don't think Scott Frost has job security. He's got a massive buyout, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the university try and leverage that. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.